Do they teach you enough in PA school to work as a dermatology PA, or do I need to do a residency or fellowship because I'm planning on specializing in dermatology after PA school? So no, they definitely don't teach you enough in school to work as a dermatology PA, or any specialty for that matter, cardiology, gastroenterology, emergency medicine. They definitely don't teach you enough, but they teach you enough to get started. Do you have to do a residency or a fellowship? Not usually, especially for dermatology. So I've had plenty of people who finished the same program that I did, some in my class, some in the class before that, and some in the class before that, all get dermatology jobs right out of school without doing a fellowship, without any other experience, without any of that. They just got hired on as a new grad by a dermatology practice, and they learned everything they needed to know on the job. Now, especially in dermatology, at least this is what I've heard, is kind of the going norm for PAs. When you're a new grad, when you're brand new, when you don't know how to do much, the salaries are actually quite low. They actually start you off lower than somebody who's starting in primary care, emergency medicine, and other PA job. However, of course, that ceiling for dermatology PAs is much higher, but you have to kind of work up to that. Do you have to do a fellowship or a residency? No. In bigger cities, or especially bigger popular cities, where dermatology jobs are much more competitive, yeah, that might make you stand out. That might make it easier to get a dermatology job. In a smaller city, especially like where I went to school, Syracuse, New York, there's a bunch of different dermatology practices, and they hire new grads like that. I've seen a bunch of new grads get jobs in dermatology, and they just like teach them everything they need to know on the job, and of course then, their pay goes up after that. So it kind of depends. With emergency medicine, I've definitely seen people do fellowships more often. You can also get hired on as a brand new grad, but that's one of those where personally I would feel more comfortable doing a fellowship just because of how dangerous it could be to not know what you're doing in emergency medicine. So I'd probably want a little more training than just those 2 years of PA school. But do you have to do a fellowship or residency to get into any specialty as a PA? No. You will always be able to find somebody who will train you from the ground up as a new grad. It just kind of depends on where you're looking. So when you're choosing PA jobs, they always say choose two of three, pay, specialty, and location. So if you want to work in dermatology, you may have to take a lower salary at first, especially if you're restricted to a certain area of the country, or you might have to move if you want a decent salary and also the same specialty, and so on and so forth. I think that's probably all I can really explain there. No, it definitely does not teach you everything you need. Yes, it teaches you enough to get started. No, you don't always have to do a residency or a fellowship. Yes, it would be helpful, especially in more competitive markets.